What you're about to listen to is a Bry-Fy production.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Bry-Fy podcast. I'm your host, Bry-Fy, your comics guy, and we are, It is December 16th. We're coming in on Christmas. We got about, a week and a half. So excited. Can't wait. Not doing some kind of weird Christmas gift guide. My son is talking in the background, though, so bear with me. Anyway, this week we do have a bit of nifty nerd news, some cool stuff to talk about, and then we'll hear, of course, from another podcast. And then what we'll do, we will, we're going to review a comic. This week, we're taking a look at Kingdom Come by Mark Waid and Alex Ross. It's really cool stuff. What's even cooler, if you take a look back in some of my past episodes, I had a chance to sit down beside Mark Waid for a comic panel, and it was a lot of fun, Actually, I got to sit with him with two panels. One just being like his own Mark Waid Q&A panel, another one being a writers panel, which was a lot of fun, like the difference between writing for the big two and then independent. And Mark was just a great person to talk to. He was really nice, really down to earth, despite what some people may think about him with that whole what's that face dude, with the the racist scumbag who wanted to make a comic. And Mark was like, hey, this dude's a racist scumbag. And people were like, oh, yeah, we shouldn't do that. And then, shit happened from there. But as far as I know, shit really didn't happen. I mean, I think this dude threatened to sue Mark and all kinds of crazy shit. And to my knowledge, nothing has come of it. So, yeah. Suck on that, haters. No. But yeah, so we got that going on later. Of course, I love Alex Ross's cover work, and so getting to see a whole book full of his interior work should be even more stunning, so I'm pretty stoked for that. But who gives a fuck about all that shit? What you guys really come for is the nifty nerd news, or at least I put it up front. So if you really came for the comic book review, you gotta listen to the nifty nerd news. So we'll talk about that right about now. All right, guys, so up first in TV news, or I think it's going to be TV news. Who knows where it's going to be? Actually, I'll find out here in a second. Anyway, so Ice Cube, that dude who used to be a really badass rapper, is now kind of like a dad rap and kind of movie star type person. Anyway, that Ice Cube, not Ice-T, wants to bring back MTV's Celebrity Deathmatch, the claymation series. I don't know if you guys were big into it. I know I was. Ran in like the mid or late 90s on MTV, and it was just celebrities in claymation form beating the shit out of each other in horrible, horrible ways. And I mean, they would take like tabloid feuds, just anything, any kind of stupid beef, and they would just go balls to the wall crazy on MTV. And it was probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Of course, you kind of get a little bit of that with Robot Chicken, them doing crazy outlandish stuff, but it never quite was Celebrity Deathmatch, which I mean was a death match, which was a lot of fun. So Viacom and MTV are working together to try to bring it back. It looks like that they're going to bring it on. Oh, where is it? It doesn't show, which fucking sucks. I thought it had where they were trying to bring it to. I guess not. I would think they're going to go online with it. It just seems to be the way. I don't know if a streaming service will pick up this show, but I think if you go something like YouTube series, or I mean, I guess even YouTube Premium, even though I would hate that, like, I think you could get the ads for it, like, obviously if it's something like MTV or something like that, and I think you're going to get the watchership or the viewership on there, because come on, who doesn't? I mean, you could do all kinds of crazy shit nowadays, you could do like a Tom Holland versus all the other what was it? Andrew, what is his name? I don't know. None of them matter because Tom Holland's the champion, as he should be. But, you know, I have like all the Spider-Mans fighting and just like, oh, you could do like crazy like Marvel shit and like kill people. And I don't know. I'm just getting crazy with it. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to give them out. I shouldn't give them ideas. I should stop talking. Let's move on. Up next, who's not getting a cool reboot or anything, is Marvel TV, which is kind of shutting down, so to speak. So I think this 2020 is kind of going to be the end of Marvel TV, or at least as we know it. Of course, you know, all the stuff at Netflix is being canceled and finishing up. A lot of your stuff that's over on like regular cable, like ABC and all that, is finishing up. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think next year is their last season. So, I mean, it's all coming to a close. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to get any more TV. What it really means is that the guy who's ahead of it, Jeff Loeb, is departing, and they're pretty much bringing all of Marvel TV now under Kevin Feige, where he's, you know, talked a big game about being able to now combine TV and movies, which we're kind of seeing over on Disney Plus with Falcon Winter Soldier, Scarlet Witch, and Vision. And so, oh, and what else was there? There's another one, big one, that I'm forgetting. I know there's Hawkeye. Shit, I can't think of it off the top of my head because I'm awful at thinking on top of my head. I do all my best thinking inside my brain. Anyway, so, yeah, I don't think this is a bad thing. It sounds bad, like Marvel TV shutting down, but I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing. I think it's going to be very positive. Because like I said, once you bring everything in-house, or quote-unquote in-house, under one roof, and where you're able to move these actors in and around between TV and movies, I think it's going to be a big thing. I think it's going to be a really rad thing, and I can't wait to see what happens with that, you know. But, I mean, only time will tell, you know. Right now, it's all speculation how it's all going to work out, and when have I ever been right about anything? I give you a hint, like twice out of how many episodes? Like 312 episodes. So yeah, I don't have a great track record. Baseball players hit the ball more than I get things right. At least that's what my wife says. Anyway, so Jim Starlin, the guy who helped create Thanos, like one of the co-creators of Thanos, been a little vocal in the news, which is kind of crazy. Not one, because I forgot that it was Jim Starlin who kind of helped with that, but the reason why he's speaking out. So, in the climax of Avengers Endgame, you know, Thanos utters that badass line, "I am inevitable," or it was in Infinity War. I think, yeah, Infinity War, and then snaps his fingers and destroys half of all life throughout the universe. Well, the reason why this is big and Jim Starlin's big is because recently, or I say recently, but like what? Yeah, a few weeks ago, Donald Trump released a video and instead replaced Thanos with, well, himself. Well, I say himself, but it's more his campaign team did it. And put Donald Trump as Thanos, and then wiped out half of all life in the universe. I get it. It's a badass line. It sounds cool. It's something you would want to say to someone when they think they're going to get rid of you or like stop you, and it's not going to happen. However, Thanos is a crazed villain, or a sane villain, depending on if you agree with him or not. But he's a villain nonetheless. Everyone's kind of 100% on board with, hey, Thanos is not a good guy. He's a bad guy. Trump's campaign team seems to think he's the perfect candidate for president. Or like, he completely embodies what our president believes. Which I will have to politely disagree with, or unpolitely say, fuck no. Anyway, Jim Starlin did come out And as quoted, he goes, "After my initial feeling of being violated, seeing that pompous fool using my creation to stoke his infantile ego, it finally struck me that the leader of my country and the free world actually enjoys comparing himself to a mass murderer." Which is really fucking true. And then he goes on to say, how sick is that? These are sad and strange times that we're going through. Fortunately, all things, even national nightmares, eventually come to an end. End quote. Well, hopefully, if you go by Trump's Twitter feed, he would love to be president for a lot longer time if he could. And, that's, what's the word? Unconstitutional. But we're not going to get too political with it. I just thought it was funny because Thanos was brought into it and hilariously, misused in a way. Because, like I said, Thanos is a bad guy. It's like when police have, the Punisher logo and think it's, cool to have that when, the Punisher is a vigilante who goes outside of the law to murder people. Yes, they're bad people, but he fucking murders people without law or anything. I mean, he might be justified in his own way, but he's doing it illegally, which is the big thing, which cops are supposed to be people who uphold the law and enforce the law, yet they praise and get behind a figure who deliberately goes beyond the law. And so I have family in law enforcement. I'm technically kind of in law enforcement, and I find it disturbingly hilarious that people believe the Punisher is cop Jesus. I don't know how else to say that. It's crazy town banana pants, man. It's my favorite line from Amazing Spider-Man. Anywho, Warner Brothers, not to be outdone by Marvel canceling shit, decides to officially remove Taika Waititi's Akira film from its release schedule, which, come on, did we really think, I hoped, we all kind of hoped that Taika Waititi, who's kind of like God's director gift to man, was going to get a chance to do this and probably do a really good job of it. But let's be honest, was it really going to get made? Probably not. Warner Brothers has got a lot of shit going on, and Akira's not really good. It's not going to save them. It's not going to save the Justice League. So yeah, kind of weird, kind of funny. In gaming news, The Wolf Among Us 2 is now back in development at Telltale Games, which we were all really sad because Telltale looked like it was pretty much closing shop and stopping all of their games, man. And I know I was a bit sad. Me and my wife were big fans of the Walking Dead series. I played the Borderlands series, and I played a little bit of Wolf Among Us, but not too much to really get into it. But I was a fan of the Telltale Games, and so it was sad to watch them let people go and look like that the writing was on the wall for that company. But to hear that Wolf Among Us 2 is back in production, thanks, RJ. That's a good sign. I'm excited for it, and I can't wait to see what happens in the near future. Hopefully some good shit. Other gaming news, specifically for me, I've bought a few new games here recently, one of them being Borderlands 3, which I think I've talked about, but I'm not sure. Been really excited with that. RJ's loved it too. He likes to watch, I probably shouldn't let him watch me murder people horrifically on Borderlands 3, but he likes it and it keeps him quiet, so I'm gonna keep doing it. But the other game I recently bought for my Nintendo Switch was Pokemon Sword. I'm super stoked to have it. Pretty much, we'll call it the next gen Pokemon game. Hands-on idea of it, though, it's very much Pokemon that you know and love. The camera angle can be quite frustrating when you're going throughout normal paths and routes. But when you get to the open world, or the wild area is what it's called, it's great because you have full control over your camera. However, when you go on the routes and through towns, you have no control of your camera, which is very frustrating because you just kind of wish you could just turn just a little bit so you could see something a little better. But I don't know, man. It's kind of limiting inside towns, but gameplay is really fun. There's fun little mini games you have to do before you can complete a gym or fight the gym leader, which I enjoy, and it's just a lot of fun. It's definitely worth the price tag of $60 or 50, I think, or $50, and it's Pokemon. You know, I was worried because there was a lot of Pokemon that I wanted to be in the game that weren't going to be in the game, but it's kind of cool because the ones that do make the game, I'm grateful for. The ones that, I'm super familiar with, because I played Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, and Silver, and then and that's kind of where I fell off with like Pokemon RPG games. There's enough of those Gen 1 and 2, and I'm familiar with Gen 3 as well. There's enough of those Pokemon in this game that feel good, it feels right, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And there's some pretty interesting variants in this region. I think it's the Galar region it's called, and some like Gen 1 Pokemon are in it, and some look cool, and others like Meowth look fucking terrifying. Like Meowth looks like a dude who's been in the woods for probably a few decades and has lost all touch with reality, and now wants to eat flesh. That's what Meowth looks like. But we'll get more. I'll do a more in-depth review somewhere else. What is RJ? What do you want me to open? Open what? Okay. Well, that's a good place to stop all the nifty nerd news. We're going to take a slight break, and then we're going to listen to another podcast, and then we'll come back with my review of Kingdom Come.
What's up, nerds? This is Rich, the host of the Three Fat Nerds podcast. I would like to invite you to check out our podcast, available anywhere you get podcasts just by searching Three Fat Nerds. We are 2 shows on one channel. Late every Monday night, we release the flagship Three Fat Nerds podcast, where we discuss all things pop culture and nerdom. We talk about movies, shows, games, comics, and more. Then late every Thursday night, we release 3FNW, our pro wrestling podcast, where we give our thoughts and takes on the wrestling business. So listen to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, like us on Facebook, 3 Fat Nerds Podcast, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, at 3 Fat Nerds Pod, and most importantly, enjoy our musings. With that being said, there's only one thing left to say. Later, nerds!
All right, all you crazy kids, welcome back to the Bry-Fy podcast. Thank you for sticking around. Today we are looking at the greatest superhero epic of tomorrow, Kingdom Come by Mark Waid and Alex Ross. I've known about Kingdom Come. People have always talked about Kingdom Come, and I've always been meaning to get around to reading Kingdom Come. However, just never did, One, wasn't easy to access for free. And you know me, I like things that I don't have to pay much for. And I just wasn't going to buy DC Unlimited. And I'm still kind of not sold on DC Unlimited because I don't read that many DC comics. However, luckily, my public library happened to have the book. So I rented it because it's awesome. And it's great when your libraries have comics. And when I lived up in Round Rock, up north of Austin, and had an amazing library that had hundreds of comics, I was blessed. However, I took it for granted and never read Kingdom Come when I had the chance. But thankfully, some amazing patron from our city decided to donate their copy of Kingdom Come, and I got a chance to read it. So I'm really stoked about that. And I will say, guys, don't forget about your local libraries to check out comics or donate comics that you no longer want to keep and want to help other people enjoy. There's my PSA for today or this week, whatever you want to say. Anywho, so Kingdom Come's kind of like this, I say future story, but future in that basically Superman has retired after a crazy event. All the heroes are much older. Of course, Wonder Woman still looks not quite as old because she's Amazonian and I guess just lives forever. And I think she's a god. I'm unsure, but we're just going to say, yeah, she's a god. But yeah, so everyone's kind of aged a bit. Things in the superhero community have gone awry. That's what we'll say. Basically, superheroes nowadays have no checks and balances. They're unhinged. They don't really care for human life. Really, they're just about the fight, man. And it's not good. There's a lot of collateral damage. A lot of people are getting hurt and are murdered. And it's kind of similar to, or at least the story is somewhat similar to Civil War in a way. Marvel's Civil War. And then I'm pretty sure Kingdom Come came out for, actually, I'm not 100% sure. Let's take a look here. Let's see if it has a published date on here. 1997. So yeah, Kingdom Come came before Civil War, because Civil War I think was in the early 2000s from Marvel Comics. But what's kind of interesting is, there's a similar event in both these comics where a superhero team is fighting a supervillain, or a supervillain team, and one of them in Marvel, one of them, I think his name's Nitro, basically self-destructs and takes out like a couple city blocks, killing like kids in a school and a bunch of stuff, and that starts, the superhero chords and all that stuff, and then, Civil War things. And here it's a villain named Parasite, I believe, and he's able to, to destroy things with his touch. Well, he splits like Captain Atom in two, and what happens when you split an atom? But fucking crazy shit is what happens, and basically wipes out all of Kansas. And so that's kind of like the huge catalyst for why Superman stops being Superman, or at least I think that is. I mean, there's a lot of things like, why does Superman stop being Superman? Like, do we really need a Superman, so to speak? And it basically causes him to go into exile or retirement, and things kind of go a little crazy. Wonder Woman gets really brutal and gets kicked out of her place. I forget what it's called, because basically her people have voted that she has not changed the world, that the world has changed her, and not for the better. Green Lantern lives in space and is only concerned with intergalactic threats. Batman has gone completely mental. Or, well, I say that, but he's just created this whole bat robot army to help control his city. The Flash is now more Speed Force than man, but his city's like a perfect utopia because he's just red lightning all over the place. And Billy Batson, Shazam, has been brainwashed by Lex Luthor. So a lot of crazy shit's going on. But basically, it finally gets to the point where Superman just can't take it anymore. He can't live in this world where these heroes are unchecked. They're not standing for any type of real just truth and justice in the American way, like he did. And so he decides to step in. He decides to come out of retirement, put on a cooler suit with black in it, and show these kids, what's what. However, if anyone's a teacher out there or has dealt with children in any form, they're little shitheads, and they don't want to listen, and they want to do things their way. And that's pretty much what happens here. The little shitheads man, fuck you, old man. We're not going to do what you want to do. And he's like, now listen here. I don't want to build a giant prison to house you all, but I'm going to build a giant prison to house you all. And so that's what he does. He builds a giant prison that looks like the old Legion of Doom house from the Justice League cartoon that I remember. And puts all this bad superheroes in there. You don't put villains in there. Villains, I guess, are dead at this point. But it's these superheroes that are acting out, lashing out, and acting fools that Superman puts in the super prison with the help of Wonder Woman and everyone else. However, Lex Luthor's not feeling it. Batman's not feeling it, because we have to have a civil war at this point, because that's how superhero books work from, I guess, 1997 on. And so that's kind of where things start to get real crazy. Basically, Superman's starting to lose grasp of things because he's been in exile so long. He's more super than man, and he's kind of forgotten his role and his, I guess, place, so to speak, or his ideas, his morals and stuff. He's kind of starting to lose track of that, where Wonder Woman is totally goading it on. Wonder Woman's completely gone mental with just vengeance and shit like that. And Bruce, who's half robot kind of, I mean, he's got braces all over him, I guess, been a regular Joe fighting crime for 50 years. It's gonna fuck up your body. So he's got a Darth Vader suit. Like, he literally looks like Darth Vader. Now that I think about it, like, it's like the bottom part of the helmet, which is around his neck, as a neck brace. I think he has a little computer thing on his chest, which looks like fucking Darth Vader's. And I don't know if this is by design, but Alex Ross, you're a mad genius if you did this. So yeah, of course, things go horrible at the prison because a bunch of superpowered people together. No super prison in the world is going to hold them. And so they're eventually able to break out. Lex Luthor decides to launch Shazam, his brainwash Shazam, into the fray because really the only person who can stand up to Superman is Shazam. He's the only one who can go punch for punch, kick for kick, throw for throw, all that kind of crazy shit. And so Superman's trying to keep things together when Shazam shows up and starts laying waste to Superman, and Superman's starting to try to appeal to Shazam, like you're brainwashed, you have to fight it, you have to like see the good and all that kind of crazy stuff. And so, oh yeah, and I'm forgetting like the main story of all this. So like, the Spectre shows up to this dude, this old guy, and is telling him like, hey, the end of the world is coming. And you're going to have to make a choice. Because the Spectre, one of his big things is like judging people for their sins and punishing them for their sins. And basically the choice is, are the superheroes the ones that are guilty and need to be judged and pay for their sins? Or is it humanity who let the superheroes go unchecked and didn't do anything to stop them? Are they the ones that should be held accountable and pay for their sins? So while all this is happening behind the backgrounds, while all Superman and Shazam are fighting, the U.S. government decides to grow a pair and launches a nuke at pretty much what are all the superheroes in the U.S. fighting in one condensed location. So the hope is they're going to wipe them all out with one bomb. But what's probably going to happen is they're just going to fuck more shit up. And so Superman knows this, or by the time he realizes this, it's too late for him to do anything about it because Shazam has whooped his little pansy ass. But that's when like Billy Batson's able to like magically overcome the shit, is able to realize like, hey, I'm kicking Superman's ass. That's not a good thing. And like everyone's like noticing, oh, the nukes are coming. This is really fucking bad. So in a last ditch effort, Shazam's able to stop the nuke, blow it up in the sky so it does minimum harm to all the other superheroes. But it lays waste to a lot of them. Like a lot of people get murdered in that moment, by the nuke. However, there is a select few, mainly everyone a part of the Justice League and others that happen to be within the protective bubble that survived the nuclear blast. Superman, who also survived, super pissed, goes to the government and is like, y'all done goofed, and is about to like just, beat the living shit out of these people. But he stops. He realizes, hey, it's kind of my fault too. I should have, I shouldn't have left. I should have stayed, man. I shouldn't have left you with the kids. I made a bad choice. I was young and reckless and all that other kind of crazy shit. But so he realizes the error of his ways, and now that he wants to step in and help the heroes of tomorrow or today, whatever you want to call it now in the book, to be better. And a lot of them want to be better after the events that took place. After seeing a lot of people get wiped out, they realize, hey, we need to quit, goofing around and be actual heroes and stand for truth, justice, and the American way. And that's pretty much the story. Like, in a nutshell, it's that. It's Superman retires, regrets it, comes back, tries to make things right, regrets it, nuke comes, Superman regrets it, Shazam steps up when he was evil, but now he's good, stops it, Superman gets pissed, but then regrets it. Like, it's like the regret of Superman is really what Kingdom Come is. And then everybody's happy. Oh, and then Superman and Wonder Woman have a baby. Bruce is the godfather, and they're all still alive, and they're in a restaurant where everyone's dressed like their younger selves, and it's just awkward. But Alex Ross's painting. I'm going to call this painting. I don't want to call this artwork. Well, it is artwork, but I don't want to call it like his art. But like every page is like this gorgeous painting. You know, like everything that Alex Ross does is amazing. And these interiors, these splash pages, these panels, it looks phenomenal, man. I can't get enough of it. This is what really sold me on the book, but the story was really fun and engaging, and I liked it all the way through. You know, I was really into it. I really was following it along, and I loved all the characters. The dialogue can be a little weird sometimes. I don't know. Like some of the characters, maybe it's just because I don't know them fully, just seem kind of awkward, seem kind of weird. But I mean, like your big ones, like your main ones, they all talk how I would expect them to talk. Wonder Woman's a little crazy though, so be prepared for that if you've never read the story. But what really sold me on this, man, was the artwork, dude. Alex Ross kills it. I love all his covers that he does for Marvel. He does some for DC too. They just look gorgeous, beautiful. Each one is a work of art in its own right. And so getting a chance to just read a whole book that's nothing but Alex Ross was great, man. I think the story with the Spectre and the Reverend or priest that is dragged through all this and getting a behind-the-scenes look is really interesting, you know, and he kind of takes a look at it through like scripture or like read scripture and talks about Revelations and other psalm. I think there were some psalms that were brought up. I can't remember all the verses. And so I'm not saying, oh, if you're religious, you're going to love this book, but there is some religious aspect to it coming from a minister's eyes. But I mean, overall, it's a pretty fantastic story, guys. I really enjoy it. I like it. Obviously, I see that Marvel Civil War pulls from this, but goes a little more into like if humans had more of a say. Whereas in Kingdom Come, you know, the humans just launch a nuke and are kind of like, you know, our hands are clean with this shit. They're not really involved. In Marvel Civil War, you know, they step up, they create the superhero cords, and, you know, they grow a pair basically. And try to really rein in the superheroes before it gets as outrageous as it does in Kingdom Come. And but that you can definitely see where Marvel pulls from Kingdom Come to make Civil War. And I'm not saying it's a direct like ripoff. I'm just saying the ideas are similar, although they're executed differently. That being said, I enjoy both. I like them both separately and equally for what they are. And I really enjoyed Kingdom Come. I don't know if there's more with these characters, the Kingdom Come characters, but I would love to see more with them and just kind of see, like, the child of Superman and Wonder Woman being raised by Bruce Wayne. That would be fucking dope as hell. And I think it's going to be a girl, too. I think that's what they said at the end of the book. And so it's pretty cool. But that's kind of it, guys. It gets a positive charge review out of my brain, out of my mouth, out of my show. Definitely check it out. It is one of the definitive DC stories, although it's an Elseworld book, which means it doesn't really affect the main timeline. Totally worth a read. Totally worth. I think it stands up there with all the other classics like Batman Year One, Watchmen. Well, I mean, Watchmen's not DC, but All-Star Superman. It's definitely one of those stories, a must-read story. So if you haven't checked out Kingdom Come, you really need to. A person who does not always like reading DC books, loved reading Kingdom Come. So that should mean a lot coming from me. But that's it for the podcast this week, guys. I want to thank you for hanging around. I want to thank RJ, my son, for keeping his cool for most of it. Only just slipping up that one. Not slipping. I mean, you know, he wanted a balloon, so I had to go get him a freaking balloon. But that's it. That's all I got for you guys. So we will see y'all next week. Also, be sure to check out my YouTube channel because not only do I post the episodes on there, so that's another place you can listen to them if you don't use Podbean or Apple Podcasts for any reason. But also, I got a new video up and running of me riding a bike through a bike trail. We went camping this past weekend for my son's birthday and to remember my grandmother. She passed this earlier this year. Well, like a few months, not even a few months, like a month ago, my grandmother passed. So we were using that as a memorial for her in lieu of a funeral, and also celebrating my son's birthday. That was last Friday. He's now 4 years old, and it's crazy, man. It's like I knew one day I would have kids, but it's like I never saw myself with a 4-year-old. And now that I do, I wish I could put them back. No, it's great. It's fun, and I love it. And just seeing the improvements that he's had with speech and playing and all kinds of things. I wish there was improvement in eating, but we're working on it. But it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's great. And we went camping this past weekend, and he loved it. He had a blast. Being outdoors is definitely one of his favorite things, and being around family is one of his favorite things to do as well. And also the park that we went to, it's called Lake Texana here in Texas, and it's just got some cool little trails that you can hike on and take a bike down, and it was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it. And so you can check out that. If you were following me on Snapchat, you could see some of the fun videos that I posted from there. But now you probably can't because it's been over 24 hours. So follow me on Snapchat. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. All my social media. Facebook is at Bry-Fy Podcast. It's Bryfy Podcast. But that's it, guys. RJ wants me to open up some more toys. So we're going to go. Bry-Fy out. Can you say Bry-Fy out? Close enough.